Hey everyone, Dr. Frunky here with an awesome new knife consult for you. I'm going to change things up a little bit with this knife, and I have removed the time cap on this knife because I realized I needed more than about 10 minutes to really get all in I wanted to talk about this knife. That means I have to sacrifice a bit of quality, so this is only going to come through in 1080p. I hope that's okay for you guys. So, what are we talking about today? This is the Vitesse design Morpheus. Some of you might be saying, Dr. Frunky, what the heck is Vitesse Design? I've never heard of that company. And that's for good reason. That's because this is their very first knife. As a matter of fact, this is their very first prototype of their very first knife. Vitesse Design is a company that was founded and started by Joel Scott Turner. Joel lives in South Africa. And he is a designer by trade. He's got a history of a family business where he did some designing and worked with some engineers. And he's got a very good eye for modern design. And this is the first knife that he came out with. This is actually a project that he is hoping will start out the Vitesse Design name. And he sent this knife to me to get his name out there, but also because I was very interested in this knife. He's been posting about this knife on his Instagram for a few weeks, even a few months, and as you can see, this is a very unique design as a front flipper. And over the past year, I've certainly become acquainted with some of the best front flippers out there. I've owned a couple of Gareth Bull Chamoises. I liked and owned the Booz Smoke. I handled a Olamic Busker. And it's sort of a trend right now. And so it was exciting to me to see what looks like a larger, beefier, EDC style front flipper with a very unique design coming out of South Africa. Now, the South African guys seem to love their front flippers. And so another reason that I was looking forward to this. So after getting to know Joel a little bit, I've talked to him a little bit. He's friends with a lot of the guys who make knives down there. He's good friends with Gareth Bull. I think he knows Jason Guthrie and a few of these other guys that I'm familiar with. And so it's cool to me to see this guy sort of bringing his ideas to life. And the people that are helping him do that are We Knives. So Joel is not building this knife by himself. This knife is being made by We Knives. And Joel is sort of trying to get the funding to create a brand that offers a high-quality set of folding knives that are manufactured by We. And if our history is anything to talk about, there are plenty of great knives that are being made by We right now. Here's a VDK Goat right here. This is a video that I just made recently. Vlad is getting We to build his line of VDK knives. The Booz Blade Smoke, the Adam Purvis knives. So what else are we talking about? We've got Fanatic Edge is coming out with some knives right now. A lot of people are going through We Knives. The Something Obscene company. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that one right there. I just had some videos on his stuff. Just a lot of guys going through We Knives, and that's because We Knives offers a very, very high quality product at a very low cost. He is actually hoping to offer this knife for $260. And that will be with an M390 hollow ground blade, ceramic bearings, 6AL4V titanium scales that are DLC coated with titanium hardware. So that is a whole lot to offer at a very reasonable price point. Some of these other knives coming out this year, let's take a look at a ZT knife right now. This has 20 CV. This has a unique pivot, titanium scales that have been anodized right now. This one is coming in at $240. So really, it is a very competitive price for what this is attempting to offer us. So let's go ahead and learn a little bit about this knife and see what we think of it. Let's get some vital signs first. Right up front here, we have got a blade that's coming in at a hair shy of 3.5 inches. I'm going to call it 3.4 inches, 3.3 inches right there. The overall length is coming in right at about 8 inches. The handle itself is coming in at 4.75 inches. And the overall effective grip area is coming in at 5.2 inches right there, almost 5.3 inches. That's because of that generous finger choil, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. A lot of folks have been interested in the dimensions of this knife, and that's because it has these large contoured titanium handles. The blades, the handle thickness is coming in at about 0.59 inches, so just under 0.6 inches right there. Yeah, make sure I'm zeroed. Right here, the blade stock is 156 thousandths, a standard blade stock right there. The handle height right here, I'm going to go ahead and check it at the highest point right here, is 1.287 inches right there. The blade height is coming in at 1.2 inches. And another interesting sort of metric on this one is going to be the width of this thing closed. I think our friend Advanced Knife Bro likes to call this the tallness closed. So at the very tallest point, this is 1.56 inches, so 1.5 inches. Another knife that is similar to that is going to be the Koenig Arius. I think this is a nice size reference right here in terms of knives that are rather wide when they are closed. Now, you can certainly get into things like the Spyderco 100 Pacer right here that's ridiculously wide. You can talk about things like the Spyderco Techno, that's pretty wide. But as you can see here, it is wide, but it's not quite as wide as you might think. There are some knives that are much bigger that we use very commonly, but the photos of this knife make this thing look very tall. So I think that that's an aspect that people wanted to know about right off the bat. So why don't we go ahead and bring out some other knives for some overall size comparisons right here. Here is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. And here is the Para 3. So as you can see with these guys lined up pivot to pivot, the Morpheus falls in a nice space right in between these two knives. If I bring them all butt to butt, you can see that it's almost exactly in between these two knives. A little bit more towards the Paramilitary 2 in terms of the overall length, but more towards the Para 3, as you can see here, in terms of the overall cutting length. So you get sort of an interesting compromise with this knife. You get the front flipper and the huge choil, but you get a rather small blade. I think that the point of this knife is to have a very comfortable, almost luxurious type of knife with enough blade length that you can really do your basic everyday carry cutting tasks. So let's go ahead and talk about this knife anatomically here. I wanted to go ahead and bring out a list here of some specs on this particular knife and then talk about how it's going to be a little bit different on the actual production knife before we really get into it. So on this prototype, the blade steel is 8CR13 MOV. It has the same titanium DLC coated handles with titanium clip and backspacer. It's running on ceramic bearings, which will be in the production model. This one has stainless hardware, but on the actual production model, it will all be titanium. And we're going to talk about some of the other changes before the end of the video here. So let's go ahead and break this knife down anatomically. Up front, we are looking at a blade which is going to be in M390 steel. This blade is also, it has a flat grind on it as of right now, but Joel has chosen to go with a hollow grind, which is going to make this thing absolutely ridiculous. I carried this knife and I used it. I used it all day on everything that I could possibly cut with it. I cut some fruit in the morning. I made some breakfast. I went and I cut some rope. I cut a gown off of somebody. I cut some envelopes open. I cut some cardboard with it. This thing slices really, really well. This is a great everyday carry blade, and that is really what I was interested in. The thing that drew me to this knife was the blade forward design, and I see that in a few other knives like the Koenig Arius right here, where the blade is just sort of the forefront of the whole purpose. The handle is swooped down towards it and you just want to use it. And I really enjoy that about it. And this is a great blade to use, and it actually works exactly like I was hoping it would. It destroys anything in its path. With a hollow grind, it's only going to be a better slicer. And in M390 steel with this satin finish, it's going to be a real looker too, because he has left it very sterile. Now, I will say that on the final design, he's going to move the Vitesse logo from the pivot and actually put it on the blade. Likely there will be some other billboarding of some kind, maybe a serial number or something like that, maybe an actual like numbered variant right here. Hard for me to say. I'll have to get Joel to comment down in the comments below about some of those thoughts right there. But what I can say is that his vision for this blade is excellent. It's a very functional shape, and it's designed to be strong and to be used all day. As you can see, it's got a bit of a swedge. Sorry, there's my face again. I'm really good at these face reveals now. There is a bit of a swedge right here, and then the tip comes out to be a very sharp point right there. Sorry, there's still some marker on my finger from marking a patient for surgery today. Moving back, let's go ahead and talk about the flipper, actually. This is still part of the blade, but I think that this is an aspect of the knife that needs to be analyzed in depth right here. That's because this has a very different take on the front flipper than a lot of other knives. Unfortunately, I don't have my chamois here. I don't have any other front flippers right now. My chamois is over with Spade Knife Works so that he can make a video on it. But most other knives that are front flippers have either a very small area right here or a little tab that sticks upward. This one has a big, like, rhinoceros horn type of protrusion right here that is very different visually. Another reason that I was attracted to this knife is because when it's closed, it is a very cool thing to look at. It's just a very nice design, and I just really enjoy that. Now, how does this thing function? It works pretty well. This is going to take some getting used to, just like the first time you grabbed a front flipper, if you've ever had a front flipper. It is a bit of a learning, there is a bit of a learning curve, and you're not going to get it on your first try. You may not even get it on your 100th try, but over time, you're going to get faster, you're going to get better, and you're going to get more efficient, and eventually, it's going to start snapping into place very easily. So I'm able to snap this thing out very reliably, almost every single time. The reason that I have a little bit of trouble with this, and Joel actually said he was considering this very strongly, is that there's no traction point on the front of this blade. I think what he was trying to achieve is a bit more steel with this prominent point right here so that you can just flip it right on over. But I think, and one of the things that I sort of experienced was that you can roll your thumb over this hump without deploying the blade fully. And if you do that hard enough and you don't deploy the blade successfully, it kind of hurts a little bit. So if he were to be able to add a small amount of jimping right here, it would make this very, very easy to get a grip on and then flip it open. Now, secondarily, it would sit right here. Likely that jimping could be extended in such a way that your thumb would rest right on it when you're holding the knife like this. The chamois is like this in a way. Another thing I really love about this blade is this very large forward finger choil. Some people might be upset by the fact that it sacrifices a good amount of the blade length, but this is a full forward finger choil. This knife is designed to get in there, do the work that you need to do, and to allow you to have very good control. The whole thing has been rounded. It's almost been crowned. It's just got these chamfers going on. It's very, very smooth in there. And I don't feel at all like I'm at risk of cutting myself. And no matter how big your index finger is, you're going to enjoy this choil. You can really get up on it. Another way I like to cut with these knives is like this. It really is just a very good size to get your finger right to the tip there and to be able to do your draw cuts like that. I find myself cutting like that more often than I really realized. Moving back to the pivot, this thing is running on ceramic ball bearings. WE does a very good job with their pivots and their bearings. They make very smooth knives, and this is no exception. I'm going to go ahead and try to make a takedown video of this so I can show you guys the internals on this knife. Again, this is a prototype, so be aware of that. The pivot hardware is actually quite nice. I really like that logo. It's rather tasteful. I don't mind it actually somehow on this pivot. He's going to be moving the logo from the pivot to the blade, but honestly, I don't think he really needs to. I kind of like this, but I would like, he says that there is going to be a stylized pivot going on right there. So the action here is actually very, very smooth. You can see there's an internal stop pin holding the blade right there. That is right there. The action is great. As you've seen, I've been deploying this knife aggressively over and over, and the ceramic ball bearings are very smooth. The drop shut action is excellent. If I were to oil the detent a little bit, I'm sure that it would drop shut incredibly smoothly. A nice thing about Wharncliffe blades is the bigger they get, the smoother they tend to fall because there's a lot of forward weight on the blade, and this is no exception. It has a very nice drop shut action. Very, very smooth. I like it a lot. I'm sure that if I were to take this down and oil it, it's going to get even smoother. I'll definitely try to do that in a knife surgery video. This has Torx hardware on the back. And again, this will be titanium, so you could have this anodized if you so chose. Moving back, let's talk about the handles here. We have the slabs of 6AL4V titanium in DLC coating that have been very nicely DLC coated and then slightly distressed from what I can tell. I think that Joel has carried this some, but I do think that this came with a purposeful distressed user finish so that the user would not be afraid to take it out and put it in their pocket and use it every day. So I really like that. I think the DLC coated titanium is one of the most durable type of handle materials you can possibly hope for. This is going to last, for the remainder of time, honestly, and I really like that. The handles have not been milled out internally. What that means is that it's left it with a little bit of extra weight. I didn't actually weigh this guy earlier. Let me go ahead and do that for you. With these chunks of titanium and that steel up front, it's coming in at 5.88 ounces, so rather chunky with this. I might recommend to Joel to seek internal milling. I think that he knows how to do that. I actually know for a fact he knows how to, but perhaps lightening this just a little bit might make it a little bit more appealing to more people. I don't mind that it's a little bit on the heavy side. I carried this in my scrub pants at 5.8 ounces, and honestly, it's not a problem. If you're wearing any type of regular pants, this is not going to be too heavy. This may not be your ideal gym short carry, but if you wear real pants of any kind, 5.8 ounces is not a deal breaker. The handles are quite ergonomic. This is another reason that I thought I was going to like this knife, and it certainly has lived up or even exceeded my expectations, are the handle ergonomics. And that is because of the way that these handles are contoured. We talked about the width being almost 0.6 inches, so it's a little bit wide, but what that does is it fills the hand in a very satisfying way. A lot of these slab-sided knives like the PM2, you do get a nice grip, but it doesn't feel luxurious in any way. That's because these knives are built to be, hard used and things like that. This knife right here really has a very nice feel to the hand. That rounding and contouring is quite nice. And all of the different hand positions, the handle is long enough so that you can really hold it in the standard position right here, the hammer grip as we call it, and then you can even hold it so nicely in the forward position right here with the thumb on the blade. There are no hot spots from the clip or from the handle. Everything has been chamfered nicely and rounded off. Speaking of the clip, in true WE Knives fashion, they've done a perfectly done WE titanium milled clip right here. I carried this with me all day, in and out of the pocket, no problem. The right amount of ramp, the right amount of spring, the right amount of height, in and out of the pocket all day. Don't have to lift the clip, just boom, 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 in and out of the pocket. Very easy. The back spacer is done in titanium as well, which leaves it open for anodizing possibilities. We know WE is pretty good at that. Here is a change that's going to happen on the knife right here. The lanyard hole right here is going to go away. He's not going to do a lanyard hole. He's actually going to move the clip to where the lanyard hole is right now. So this thing is going to ride much deeper than it is right now. To be honest, I don't mind it riding right there, but I did notice that this was poking me a little bit because I carry this on my waistband. So having that right there is going to make this thing ride fairly deep in the pocket, and that is a nice addition right there. So we've kind of gone through all of the major specs right here. I wanted to bring out his sort of explanation of what's going on. He said that he just sent me this in some shitty packaging. The production models will sport awesome custom packaging. Okay, it's going to be like Christmas morning for the guys who backed me, for the guys who ordered this. I don't know what that means, but that means that he's going to have, stickers, a nice box, a lot of other things going on. Who knows? A nice case. I'm sure there will be issues with the knife as is. If they're not covered below, let's talk about it. But these are the changes. So the lanyard hole will be removed. There's going to be 7 screws that are going to be reduced to 4 screws. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws basically. We're not counting that guy right there. So 7 body screws holding it together. I assume he's going to be removing one of these screws. I couldn't tell you which one it is. It may be this one to accommodate the clip going right there. The side chamfers, the pocket clip will be positioned to where the lanyard hole is right here. The side chamfers are going to be redrawn to machine away the sides at equal depths. I'm not really sure exactly what that means right there. I don't know what that means, but that's going to change. Some of the chamfers will be changed. There's going to be an offset pivot face to allow the pivot face to look more centered to the handles. They're going to maybe make it bigger over here and make it just look more centered on the handle, but the pivot will still be down there. The pivot logo is going to be removed and the logo will be put on there. The pivot face detail will be changed and it will be a 12-inch hollow grind. So thanks for taking a look, Joel Scott Turner, Vitesse Design. So those are the overall changes that we're going to see on this knife. So what do I think of this knife? I have carried it for a short time, really just a day and a half right now, to be perfectly honest with you, but I used it for everything that I possibly could. It's got an excellent actual user blade that has excellent ergonomics. It's a great Warncliffe shape. It's very sharp. It has a hollow grind in M390. It's going to be absolutely unstoppable. It's got a great forward finger choil. It runs on ceramic ball bearings. It's got an interesting front flipper design that's easy to use and very snappy. And once you get used to it, it's excellent. I imagine if he throws a little bit of jimping on there, it will be better for more people. But there, I missed one. But it will be better for more people, but it works fine for me. If you know what you're doing, you're not going to have a problem with that. And with the design changes that he has, like the different pivot, less screws, and titanium hardware on here, I think that he's got a real winner. So what can you do to get this knife? How can you get this knife? You can go over to the Indiegogo page, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to leave a link down below, and I want you to go and click on that link and go and check this out. If you buy in at $260 and we can get to 200 people, then this knife will exist. Right now we're at 28 people as of me recording this video right now. We need to get to 200, and if we do, this knife will exist. If it doesn't, this knife goes poof, and it disappears. Now, Joel is a jolly guy, and he says, I'll be on to the next design. I'll have something going on. There's no problem. But I really like this knife. I think it deserves to be made. I think it deserves to be out there in the world. It's a unique design. I'm really happy with the way that it's executed, and I think that we are going to see good things coming from Vitesse Design. Joel has a good eye for both design and for usability, and he went to the right people and he made the right product. Now, I've been in talks with Joel and another knife maker for some awesome stuff coming up in the future. I'm just going to have to ask you to stay tuned on that one. I don't want to give too much away right now. So go and check out the Indiegogo page for the Morpheus. Go and check out Vitesse Design on Instagram. He's got a lot of posts with a lot of information about the knife. Go and check me out at Dr. Frunky on Instagram. Go ahead and click like and subscribe to my channel right here. Leave me some comments down below about what you think of the Vitesse Design Morpheus. And as always, guys, this is Dr. Frunky saying, take care.